You're listening to the Fanalist Podcast. Follow on Twitter at TheFanalystPod.
Even though NFL preseason is 2 months away, we're diving into who we think are going to be the top 10 quarterbacks. Let's jump right into it. We both created our own rankings, and we've combined those to create the Fanalyst's top 10. And coming in at number 10, we have Drew Brees. Tyson, why is Drew Brees on your top 10 list?
He's always been a guy that you can always rely on. He's the veteran, gritty type, short quarterback that's always been underrated type of guy. And even though they're not the strongest team, I feel like he's the type of guy who can carry them. They lost Jimmy Graham last year. They still were able to piece some wins together. They're not going to be the same force they were in the NFC South, but with him, they're always going to be at least a contender.
I'm a big Drew Brees fan myself. He's an elite quarterback. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. He had 4,800 yards last year and a very low interception percentage, which is pretty spectacular when you don't have many quality targets out there. One of the biggest problems for the New Orleans Saints is the fact that Drew Brees costs them a lot of money. So when it comes to them in roster construction, they usually have trouble trying to find good pieces to surround him with. You know, they've done what they can, and they usually just end up with these mediocre seasons now where they're going to win between 7 and 9 games. But I feel like Drew Brees, he's just an elite quarterback. He still is. He's still playing at that level. I wouldn't put him at the top just because he doesn't have the team that he's going to be able to use to.
And he is aging too.
He's a what?
He is aging too.
Yeah, he is aging. See, but here's the thing with NFL. Now, I know with Peyton Manning, at the end of his career, he really kind of dwindled down. But I feel like in most sports, when people kind of look at these older guys and say they're declining, you can't really expect them to be declining so quickly. Like, people just say, oh, he's getting up there in age. He's not a good quarterback anymore. Think about how many years Peyton Manning was still good until this past year where it was obvious that it was time to retire. And he made the good decision of retiring and not heading over to Los Angeles and being the face of the franchise for the Rams for their first year. So I'm sure Rams fans are happy with that. But Drew Brees, great quarterback. Not the best situation in New Orleans right now, but he's been there for a long time, and he is number 9 on my list, number 10 on yours. He's coming in at number 10 on the Fanalist rankings, and I think that's a good, safe spot for him. And in case you don't think he's a top 10 quarterback, just think back to last season when he had 7 touchdowns in that game against the New York Giants. It takes a special quarterback to do that.
And you can always count on him to be at the top of the passing yards list, at least in the top 5, all the time.
Every season, he's always there, so it would be wrong for us to not include him in our top 10. But, because of his situation, he's going to be at the bottom of that list. Coming in at number 9, we have Andrew Luck, the former Colts rookie. Now he's got a few years under his belt, but he came off a season of injuries, Tyson. Why do you have Andrew Luck at number 6, where I have him at 10, making him fall to number 8 or number 9 in our rankings?
Right. I disagree with the fact that he's at number 9. I think after last season, I think people are getting a little too carried away. They're seeing sort of what's going on with Colin Kaepernick and quarterbacks like that, where they had an awesome start to their career and then just started falling off, and Kaepernick completely fallen off so far from what we've seen. Luck, I think, just had a tough season with injuries and not having... No, he wasn't 100% for the season. I think that's just the bottom line. The Colts are still the best team in the AFC South, in my opinion, better than Houston Texans. I think he'll have a good season this year. I think he'll be able to come back and piece together at least 10 wins.
Now, a lot of people have Andrew Luck actually outside of their top 10s. So the reason why I think it's safe to have him towards the 9 to 10 spot here is because he's coming off a season where he's dealt with some injury. He's a guy you want to have long term. He's going to be special. He's going to have a big spot in the NFL over the next decade, and it's coming for him. I just don't think right now, following this injury, we haven't seen him deal with something like this before. So I want to see what he can do this season. I think he belongs on the top 10 list towards the bottom. I just want to see another year from him before I start considering him one of the elite quarterbacks right now.
Just last year, though, people had him in their top 5. And I think it's like I said before, it doesn't seem right to have him drop off so quickly just because he had a pretty tough season last year. I think they're just getting too carried away with the idea that he might be going down to the path that Colin Kaepernick is. And RG3.
Well, I mean, having Andrew Luck at number 9 on our rankings isn't necessarily, squashing him and putting him too far down there. Yes, people were really high on Andrew Luck prior, last season they were really high on him. And like I said, I just feel like the injuries, they're just kind of slowing down his trek from going from NFL rookie to being a superstar in this league. So it's fair for us to have him in the top 10, but I think it'd be unfair to have him above some of these other quarterbacks that we're going to get to, because those guys have been doing it year after year, and they've been doing it really well. Coming in at number 8, we have Tony Romo. Here's one that we both agreed on. We both had him at number 8 in our own rankings. So Tony Romo, 2 collarbone breaks last season. He was 3-1 with the Cowboys in the 4 games that he did start with the team this past season, winning against the Giants, Eagles, and Dolphins, losing to the Carolina Panthers. You can't really blame him with that because a lot of teams couldn't beat those Panthers. But without Tony Romo, this Dallas Cowboys team went 1-11. It just shows how valuable he is to this team, and I think if he's able to recover from those 2 breaks, I think he can do it.
That was also without Des Bryant, their best wide receiver and quite possibly one of the best wide receivers in the NFL.
And a season without DeMarco Murray.
Exactly, and I think Joseph Randle was dealing some with injuries.
Oh, their running back, everything was horrible for them, but what's really a positive mark right now for the Dallas Cowboys is Ezekiel Elliott, Mr. Crop Top, who's going to be coming in, and he is high on a lot of people's boards for fantasy drafts. I think he's going to be fantastic and give Romo a whole bunch. He's going to give him the ability to do what they did in 2014 with DeMarco Murray again, and I think that's why Romo's going to have a great chance here to recover from a down season. But I mean, everyone's calling it a down season. He had 4 games and he went 3-1 in those games. He was injured. You come back from breaks. It's not nerve damage. It's not a neck injury. It's not finger or wrist injuries or anything like that. I think he can still come back and be a good quarterback.
He gets injured way too much, though, and that's the thing. If you get injured that much, you can't be relied on. I would argue that he could very well be a top 5 quarterback. When he's able to take the Cowboys to Green Bay and have that unbelievable game against the Packers, which I believe they should have won because that was a catch that Des Bryant had, that showed me he has that superstar caliber. You know what I mean? He has that it factor. And that was something that people argued he never had. And
take out the injuries in his career, and do you know what he probably has? He probably has a Super Bowl.
Possibly, he very well could, especially with the help of Des Bryant and DeMarco Murray back in the day. That's a Super Bowl winning combo, and if it's just the fact that they weren't healthy.
A big reason I was okay with putting him in number 8 on my rankings, and he did fall there on our aggregate rankings as well, is, as I mentioned before, with Elliott coming in to join the Dallas Cowboys this season, he's really going to help kind of bring back that 2014 feel the Cowboys had, and I think they're going to win this division. The Giants are still just a tad behind, and the Eagles are going to be dropping off quite a bit, and I don't quite have trust in the Washington Redskins.
Neither do I. I think it'll be a tight race between the Cowboys and the Giants, just because the Giants have improved their defense quite a bit. And having Odell Beckham Jr. is always a positive. So I think it could be a really cool season if both sides stay healthy.
If you can guarantee me that Tony Romo can start 14 games this upcoming season, I give them the division. Coming in at number 7 on our rankings, it's Ben Roethlisberger, Pittsburgh Steelers quarterback. Tyson, why do you have him at number 9? Because I have him at number 4 on my list.
We definitely have a difference in opinion there. When I look at it, I kind of go, well, maybe I could have him a little bit higher on my list, but having him at number 9, I guess it makes sense just looking at the guys ahead of him. I don't think he's as good as Tony Romo. I don't think he's as good as Russell Wilson, neither Andrew Luck either. I think.
You don't think he's as good as Tony Romo or Andrew Luck?
I don't. I think his great years are behind him. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. Again, kind of like Tony Romo, he's got that injury bug.
Roethlisberger can play through almost any injury. I've never seen a guy who looks like his ankle's about to fall off throw as many touchdown passes as Ben Roethlisberger.
He's also got a lot of help with who he has to throw to.
Exactly. Antonio Brown may be the best wide receiver in the game, and Le'Veon Bell may be the best running back in the game.
And also,
he has D'Angelo Williams, Marcus Wheaton. These guys are so valuable. And like I said, when he just plays through injuries, he's so effective. He's going to be there for the whole 16 games this season. If not 16, he'll be there for 14 or 15 games. He's going to give the Pittsburgh Steelers, a solid quarterback for all those games, and they're always going to be within reach of winning those.
I just don't have the faith that I used to have in Roethlisberger to put him higher on my list. I think he's still a great quarterback, and the only reason why they've made it as far as they have in the last few years, I still have them as a favorite in the AFC East, or pardon me, the AFC North. Maybe like a little bit behind the Cincinnati Bengals, but I've always been a big supporter of the Pittsburgh Steelers when talking about rankings in the NFL. I've always had them high on my list just because Roethlisberger is a great quarterback. Each year I have him going down a bit of a notch, and that's why I have him so low on my list. But looking at it again, maybe I could have him a little bit higher. Maybe I could put him ahead of Romo or Wilson, but bottom line is I need to see a little bit of him this year to get an idea of whether he's that level.
Well, you have him at number 9. I have him at number 4. He's going to fall to number 7 in our rankings. Coming in at number 6 on our rankings, we have Carson Palmer. I have him at number 7. You have him at number 4. So once again, I'm going to let you take over here. Tell me why Carson Palmer should be number 4 as opposed to number 6.
Each year, he's gotten better and better. Every year, when we look at preseason rankings, I always doubt Carson Palmer, and no longer will I doubt him because each year he proves to me that he is an elite quarterback and he should be in the discussion for being one of the best in the NFL. The Cardinals have been a great team over the last few seasons. They ran into a really hot Carolina Panthers, which is why they did miss the Super Bowl. But bottom line is, I like what I've seen from Carson Palmer over the last few seasons. He improves so much each year, and seeing who he has in this deep Cardinals lineup, I like their odds of winning the NFC West this year. And that's me, a big Seahawks fan, giving the Cardinals the advantage in the NFC West.
Okay, well, 2 things here. 1, Carson Palmer, if he wasn't the best, he was one of the best quarterbacks last year, and I won't take that away from him. At the age of 36, he had 35 touchdowns, 11 interceptions, and almost 300 yards per game. That is an elite season in my books. He was fantastic, and as you mentioned, he led those Cardinals right into the playoffs, and they played extremely well. Now, here's the reason he drops from arguably number 1 or 2 down to number 7 on my list. It's the first time in his career he's had a season this strong. Okay, it's one thing if I see one of these guys like Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, who have put together, or Aaron Rodgers even, put together a career of season after season getting better.
But here's the argument.
They peak at a younger age. Because Carson Palmer is peaking at the age of 36, it's unheard of. You don't see a guy peak at the age of 36 and carry on for a few more seasons.
Now, 2 seasons ago, he was doing really well, and then he had that injury that ended the season for him. And that was when the Cardinals were pushing the Seahawks away from going to the Super Bowl or winning the NFC West. They were challenging them for a while, and then with that injury, they just fell off the face of the earth. But,
and he dealt with an injury again this past season. He hurt his index finger towards the end of last season, and an index finger, that's your pointer when you're throwing in the NFL, as a quarterback. That's how you give direction. And as we saw with him in the postseason, all of a sudden, the thing that he was so great at was avoiding those turnovers, not throwing interceptions. That became his biggest weakness. With these injury problems and with him being 36 years old, he's been in the NFL for these past however many years. He's been there. He has these, kilometers, these reps on his body. I don't know how much longer he can withstand that and really be the top quarterback or one of, you had him at number 4. I think number 7, I might be putting him too high.
Really, but you just said that he was the number 1 quarterback last season in terms of statistics. He should be, in my opinion, looked at as top 5.
Have you never seen a quarterback have a great year and then not have a great year?
Back-to-back good seasons, man. Back-to-back great seasons, I could argue.
And you know what? Good for him. He's been playing really well. But at his age, see, I made this point earlier with other quarterbacks. At their age, like with Drew Brees, I'm okay with putting my trust in Drew Brees as he's getting older because year after year he's been elite. Carson Palmer is peaking late in his career, and I think that's much less likely to be sustainable.
I just disagree. I just like Carson Palmer, the way he's looked over the last few seasons and the way this Cardinals team has looked. They've increasingly gotten better each year, and I have them favored in the NFC West.
Coming in at number 6 on our rankings, Andy Dalton. Tyson, Andy Dalton. You had him at number 5. I had him at number 6, so he's falling in right about the spot that we both think he should be. What's your thoughts on Andy Dalton this coming season?
He's another quarterback that each year he seems to be improving. And last year, a lot of people were expecting the Cincinnati Bengals to carry on a great season and make it possibly to the NFC or the AFC Championship. And Andy Dalton is another quarterback that just seems to get better and better each year. Last year, it was unfortunate to see him get injured, forced him out of the playoffs, and we again saw the Cincinnati Bengals unable to get that first postseason win in a very long time. I like the looks of him, though. I like the fact that they're a team that just keeps on getting better. AJ Green, Tyler Eifert both had good seasons last year, both great wide receiver and tight ends. I think he's proven to be a top 5, if not just outside the top 5 quarterback. I don't disagree with you having him at 6. I had him at 5 just because I believe that from the quarterbacks I had previous, I just think he tops them.
Now, I know with Ben Roethlisberger, one of the things I credited him for, saying that makes him better, is the supporting cast around him. Okay, by having Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell there, it brings the best out of him. I think Andy Dalton is almost getting carried a little bit by the amount of talent on the field, because this team really should have been contending for a Super Bowl last season. AJ Green, Tyler Eifert, Jeremy Hill, and one of his wide receivers went as a free agent this season for about $32 million. Like, he had a great team built around him, and that injury just set back the plans by the Bengals. It's unfortunate for them, but Dalton, he's going to take a step down my list. It's for good reason, because the guys I have above him are elite quarterbacks in my mind, and, I think that's fair. Coming in at number 4, maybe one of the biggest differences in rankings between you and me, we have Russell Wilson, number 4. I have him as my number 2 quarterback in my rankings. You have him. Let me look here. Let me go down. Oh, number 7. Why is Russell Wilson number 7 in your quarterback's ranking?
Here's another one where I kind of doubt myself on why I picked him at the place I picked him. I look at the other quarterbacks I have ahead of him. I don't know if I would put him ahead of Luck, and I don't know if I would put him ahead of Dalton, but the reason why I picked him at number 7 was because I feel like the Seahawks, along with Russell Wilson, are headed downhill. They struggled to make it to the NFC division. They made it there simply because a kicker missed an easy chip shot. Without Marshawn Lynch, I think they're going to struggle this season. I don't think Russell Wilson will have the same quality years as he had before. I think he's a great quarterback. Don't get me wrong. He has a Super Bowl ring, and he should have won a Super Bowl twice, 2 years in a row. But I feel like he's gotten a little bit predictable. You look at a guy like Colin Kaepernick, I'm not so sure that Russell Wilson could be any different. I feel like he could very well become another Colin Kaepernick.
Now, I don't know if you can call Russell Wilson predictable, because towards the end of last season, after their Week 9 bye, he went on a tremendous stretch, and I mean a tremendous stretch, of 25 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. Not the type of stretch that you see nowadays from a predictable quarterback. And there's nothing predictable about a guy who throws on, what down was that he threw on in the 2 Super Bowls ago? He threw on first down when it was intercepted by the New England Patriots and lost the Super Bowl. There's nothing predictable about that. Russell Wilson, of course, that was a coaching decision and a very stupid one at that, but Russell Wilson is...
If it got intercepted, maybe it was predictable.
Russell Wilson is... Come on. Russell Wilson is an incredible quarterback. Number 2 is where I have him. Number 4, you know what? The only reason that I won't complain about him being at number 4 in our rankings is because it's quality quarterbacks at this point. These are guys where you can't discredit one over the other by too much, but Russell Wilson on my team, if I'm starting an NFL franchise, I don't have many complaints. As we agree, he should have 2 Super Bowls in these past 3 seasons. And the only reason that they got eliminated this past playoffs was because they ran into the Carolina Panthers.
I think he's an elite quarterback. I think he is a top 5 caliber QB. I'm just starting to lose faith in the Seahawks organization and in Russell Wilson as well.
Coming in at number 3, we have Tom Brady. I have him at number 5 on my rankings. You have him at number 2 on yours. And instead of letting you go first here, I'm just going to explain why I have him at number 5. Because number 5 is very low for Tom Brady. Tom Brady is a great quarterback. The only reason I really have him there, to be quite honest, is because he's likely facing a suspension this year. Okay, there's no doubt Tom Brady is a fantastic quarterback. He's led this team to 7 straight AFC East titles, 12 of the past 13 seasons. The only season they didn't was because he got injured in 2008. Tom Brady is elite. He's got a great team built around him right now. They just brought in another tight end. They brought in Martellus Bennett. The Patriots are going to be good, but if your quarterback already it already looks like he's not going to be playing 16 games, I'm not going to put him above these other names that I have, including Russell Wilson, who I just mentioned, and a few more that I'll get to.
See, I think the reason why he's getting suspended and not going to be playing the same amount of games is why he should be put at number 1 or number 2.
Wow.
The reason why I'm saying that is, without him, I believe the New England Patriots are going to struggle to win 1 or 2 games. I'm not sure how long the suspension is going to be.
It's going to be 4 games.
See, I think they'll struggle to get to a 500 record, and with him, it's going to be an angry Tom Brady with, you named him, another great tight end in Martellus Bennett. I think this could very well be a great season for the New England Patriots because of Tom Brady, because he's an unbelievable leader. I think that they could easily win the AFC East, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get to another Super Bowl.
No, I totally agree with you. I think they're going to win the AFC East, and I think they're always, as long as Tom Brady is, ahead of that ship right now, he's going to be bringing that team deep into the playoffs season after season. I don't disagree with you on that. I just can't have him as one of my top quarterbacks if right now it's likely he's going to be missing the first 4 games of the season. Coming in at number 2 on our rankings, we have Cam Newton, who is number 2 because we both have him at number 3, and everyone else we've kind of had a little, above or below the other. So we have Cam Newton at number 2. What do you expect from him this season?
I expect not nearly the same season they had last year.
Greatness, though. Still greatness.
I think he's a very good quarterback. I don't know about great.
You don't think he's a great quarterback?
I think you need a Super Bowl ring to be called great. I think Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, and Russell Wilson are great quarterbacks. I just haven't seen greatness from Cam Newton. And the reason why I say that is, if you look at their record last year, until the playoffs, the only teams they seemed to beat were sub-500 record teams. The defense was the core of that team, and they carried Cam Newton. I'm not saying that Cam Newton didn't have a good year. He had a very good year. He had a very good season. But he showed to me that he still has a lot of developing to do. And, it's the NFC South. He could very well win it this year again. I don't know if it'll be the same level of greatness that they had last season.
Now, it's no doubt that Cam Newton had one of the historically great defenses behind him this past season, but what he was able to do with such poor pieces on offense was spectacular. Cam Newton, with his arm and with his legs, he was able to lead that team to a lot of games that maybe they shouldn't have won, maybe they shouldn't have even been competing in. But they weren't just winning games, they were blowing out teams. Okay, these games were just very lopsided, most of them at that.
Again, teams that were under 500, though.
Not all of them.
Not all of them, but most of them.
You got to give him credit for some of those wins, especially if you look at his offense, there are some real putrid options out there that he was able to get,
That's the only thing that I'll give him credit for is the fact that he didn't have any real weapons.
See, here I am defending Cam Newton, and then I'm going to come back with this. The reason I have him at number 3, because right now Cam Newton is number 1 on a lot of people's rankings, sometimes number 2, but the reason I have him down, a spot below is because I feel like teams saw what Denver did to Cam Newton and what elite pass rushes can do to Cam Newton. We see with all sports, okay? We saw with how Golden State won a championship last season and they're competing now, the way that they've built their roster, and other coaches are watching this, and now they're drafting to try and build teams like this. In the MLB, we see the Kansas City Royals, a team that's built their bullpen around a 7, 8, and 9 guy, and having elite defensive players in every position. Coaches saw Cam Newton get some from Denver's defense, and I think as time goes by, people are going to start developing better plans of attack against Carolina, and I still have them winning the division this coming season, but I think, his reign is only going to last so long. So right now, I think coming off of this past season, the success, I think Carolina's going to play well, and I think Cam Newton's going to be great, and I have no problem having him as my number 3 quarterback.
I agree. I think when he played against the Seattle Seahawks, that's when I looked at him as an elite quarterback. When he beat the brains out of them in the first half of the NFC divisional game, and when he played against the Arizona Cardinals, destroyed them. So he has that it factor, but
he's the killer instinct.
When Denver got to him, he showed weakness. Maybe we'll see that this coming season. Maybe we won't. And that's why I have him at number 3, because there is that unknown factor coming into the season, whether or not that weakness will sort of show more in this upcoming year.
And coming in at number 1, the undisputed number 1 between us at least, And, like I said, most people are kind of debating between Cam Newton, some Russell Wilson, a little bit of Tom Brady, and Aaron Rodgers as their number one picks. We both agree. Number one, Aaron Rodgers. He's got Randall Cobb, a new and improved Eddie Lacy, and Jordy Nelson returning from an ACL tear. Rodgers is arguably arguably the best quarterback ever. He has, he's the perfect player in all senses. The way his body, the way he's built, the way he plays, the level of awareness, and just how smart he is. As good as he is, he's a smart quarterback. And I see, Green Bay year after year are favorites. Maybe not favorites, but they're always contenders to win a Super Bowl. And, if Jordy Nelson can fully recover from this ACL tear, I don't see why Green Bay can't do it again this year.
It pains me to say it as a Chicago Bears fan because I hate that smug look he has on his face whenever he beats the crap out of the Chicago Bears.
And he's going to keep doing that.
Well, give the Chicago Bears credit because last year they were able to beat them in a stunning upset. But he has proven time and time and again to be one of the best quarterbacks of our generation. And although he didn't have the strongest year last year, I think he'll come back great this year. And I can't see the NFC North not going to the Green Bay Packers. They're a very, very strong team. And now with Jordy Nelson coming back, he's their number one guy. My God. I mean, I just can't see a Green Bay Packers team that's healthy not winning at least 12 games.
Yeah, I mean, if they're healthy, I think more than 12 games for sure. And I know you agree with that. If they won 13 or 14, you would not be shocked if all these guys stay healthy. Eddie Lacy, rumor has it he's working with that Horton guy on P90X, getting fit, where last season he was just eating everything he could find in Wisconsin. Yeah, the cheese on the heads, I guess somebody left some in the locker room, and he's just been binging on those for a while. But he's in great shape. Randall Cobb, always great. Jordy Nelson returning. Aaron Rodgers is an elite quarterback. He's a great quarterback, and this year, he's my number one quarterback. If you like this podcast but want us to dive deeper in next time, then let us know. We can spend more time on selections or keep it short and sweet. It's up to you. Also, let us know if you want an 11th to 20th QB ranking show. I'm already debating it, but I want to know what you think because those 10 spots will really be all over the place. There's so many rookies and newer QBs that could be peeking into those 10 spots for quarterbacks. So what do you think? Do you want to hear that from the Fanalist Podcast? Let us know, and, we'll do that. Thanks for listening to the Fanalist Podcast. You can follow us on Twitter at TheFanalystPod and like us on Facebook, as well as subscribe on YouTube and SoundCloud. Thanks again, and if you really like the show, then go share it with some of your friends. Repost it somewhere with your thoughts, and we'd love to discuss or argue with you over Twitter, so you can tweet directly at us. You can tweet Tyson at TFP_Tice, that's TYS, or you can tweet at myself at FanalistDrew. Thanks for listening.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into the Fanalist Podcast. I'm Tyson, and you can follow us at TheFanalystPod.